Hey guys, so I just wanted to talk about something, and I'm going to be very upfront with you about this. That it's really hard to verify a lot of the information about the Iran war right now because we're being lied to clearly by all sides. The Iranians are lying and putting out propaganda. The Israelis are, and so is the United States government. They just constantly lie about everything, and we really can't know with 100% certainty what's going on. We have to try to piece things together ourselves. So this is the Strait of Hormuz here, contested area um, that Iran is trying to cut off shipping, and that's going to have a sort of ripple effect through the world's markets and on fuel prices and things like that. But this account that I just heard from an Iranian source says that Iran struck three American landing craft in the vicinity of this island. I don't know how to pronounce this. Bubiyan Island, um, in the vicinity of the Kuwait City port. I forget the name of the port off the top of my head, but um, anyway, the what I heard was that six craft were targeted and attacked. Three were outright sunk, and three were fully ablaze in the aftermath of these strikes by Iran. And so just to break down what I think is going on here, and we'll take a look at these landing craft in just a moment and maybe try to guesstimate, what's going on or potentially what the death toll could be if these fully, um, if these craft were full. But so this is Karg or Kark Island, and it's controlled by Iran. Very important. So this is Iran up here. Let's just zoom out to give you a bigger picture of things. So we got Kuwait, we got Iraq, and and then we have Iran here, and then this is the choke point here, Hormuz Strait, and these islands are kind of strategic importance in this fight. But Kark Island or Karg Island, I don't know how you pronounce that exactly, is very important, and it's been speculated. I've seen it speculated that this is where the Americans are going to try to make a landing, an invasion, a beachhead, and take that over and use it as a base of operations. And if we zoom in on this island, you can see that there's oil and refinery infrastructure there. I believe is what's going on there. The Iranians are not going to let this go without a fight. This is an incredibly important island. You can see that there's dock infrastructure and stuff here for and whatnot. And well, let's just see if I can hover over and see what some of this stuff is. Oil refinery, yep. Oil Boulevard, yep. You got all these big. I don't really know a whole lot about the process, but this is important here, and we wants it. And so over in this vicinity is where the U.S. forces were apparently staging. And from what I understand, it was LCU type landing craft with Marines on board that were attacked by Iran. And so these craft we're going to see from the other page that I have up here there. So this is like maybe, I don't know, 100 miles, give or take. And the range on these landing craft is about 1,200 miles, I think, is what I saw in this. But these were LCU type craft that were targeted and struck. And we're going to talk about what that means. So this is the sort of craft that we're talking about. These are landing craft for, like what we saw during D-Day, just updated modern variants of them for making beach assaults and taking a beachhead, and then invasions by sea. And this is the sort of craft that we're going to have to use to take these islands. And capable of transporting cargo, tracked or wheeled vehicles, and troops. Capability to operate independently at sea for up to 10 days. And so the LCU types have bow and stern ramps. LCMs are a little different with just the bow ramp for onload and offload. But these are sort of the types of craft. That's probably an LCM since that's bow only. And then the LCUs, as mentioned, have the bow and stern, so maybe this is an LCU. That would make sense. That's why you have your bridge and everything here on the side, so that you know, you can drive stuff right up and then drive stuff right off. So let's look at these craft and a little bit about them. So LCU type craft, the range 1,200 nautical miles at 8 knots. So Kark Island from Kuwait City and the port there, and the American staging area, well within range. And like we said, this is the type of craft that we would need to use in order to take this island. But Iran is very close. I mean, there's this little slice of Iraq that comes down, this little bit of Kuwait, where they have, access to, I think this is the Persian Gulf here. But Iran's right here. So, clearly this is not exactly a safe, risk-free staging area. It's kind of pretty close, right in proximity to all this stuff, and I'm assuming, I think we are on good terms with Kuwait right now, from what I understand. So it makes sense that we would use this major hub here. Now there's apparently like a sort of U.S. base in the vicinity here. I don't know exactly where that is. Maybe it is actually this island. But anyways, let's just look at the capacity of this, because this gives us maybe an estimate, if these were fully loaded, of what the losses could have been on the part of the American forces. So 350 troops or 400 persons, fully crewed and loaded up, I guess. So the crew of the vessel itself is 13, but then the cargo, or whatever, there may be a better term for it than that, but 350 troops can fit on each vessel, basically. And this would be Marines, for a beach assault type thing like that. And that's the information that I had, that these vessels were loaded with Marines. So potentially that's 1,500 plus people, maybe, on these vessels, if they're fully loaded up. Math is not my strong suit. Let's just run 350 times 6. Okay, so over 2,000 potentially. If now I'm assuming though that they would have vehicles and stuff like that, so they're probably not just doing foot soldiers. It's probably a mix. Although we don't really know total how many of these landing craft there are. We just know that 6 were struck, 3 sunk, and 3 set on fire. And like I said, this is coming from Iranian sources, so who knows? Who knows if it's good intel or not? Don't really know. Of course, our government's not going to tell us about this kind of thing, but we are hearing about numerous deployments and potential deployments of American troops in the vicinity, in the theater of operations, and this is not going to be a short war. And if this is indeed the war, the Elam War that is mentioned in Bible prophecy in Jeremiah 49, I believe, this thing is gonna be a mess. It is gonna pull in many nations. There will be ultimately a coalition, and probably in order to bring everybody on board, there will be some kind of 9/11 type event, or false flags, or a ton of political pressure being brought to bear. Don't really know. Of course, there's blackmail going on in this situation with Epstein and Israel and all that nonsense. But it's at the end of, yes, here we go. It's at the end of Jeremiah 49, if you're interested in reading this. Upon Elam will I bring the 4 winds from the 4 quarters of heaven, and will scatter them towards all those winds. And there shall be no nation whither the outcasts of Elam shall not come. we've already had Trump pontificating about the possible use of nuclear weapons in this conflict, which would be absolutely nuts, to be honest. I had someone mention to me the other day, well, we could use, EMP weapons and end this in a day or end this in a week. And my response to that was, no, that's not how it works. You could hit the population centers where the civilians are, but the Iranian military is operating in these buried facilities in the mountains, and those facilities probably have their own generators for power supply. So, EMP weapons and nuclear weapons, that's just going to cause a lot of suffering and death amongst the civilian population. It's not really going to do that much against the military. This is Afghanistan 2.0, where it's going to have to be boots on the ground, and we're actually seeing that despite what they're telling us, that is what they are doing now, what they're going to continue to do. And I think I've mentioned this before to you guys. We've seen talk about a year to 2 years ago. In that window, there was talk in the UK, in France, and in the United States that there would be a draft of men and women, because they don't have enough able-bodied men anymore due to various health trends in Western societies, and mental health issues as well. People being on various antidepressants and ADHD meds and stuff like that. These things are disqualifying, so they're going to have to tap into women for the draft if these wars drag on long enough. And I suspect that is exactly what we're going to see. I do think that this is the War of Elam that is being talked about here at the end of Jeremiah 49. Now, I can't prove this conclusively, but it's right there in the context of what happens next after this. Well, Jeremiah 50, Jeremiah 51, we've talked about this in other videos. This is the fall of Mystery Babylon. We're in that time frame. Yeah, folks, buckle up, because you have not seen anything yet. As I've mentioned before, we're in Revelation 6. That is the lead up to the tribulation period. And 1/4 of humanity is going to be killed off or die off during this period alone. And we're just talking natural consequences of human wickedness. We're not even to the point of special judgment and plagues by God yet. We're not even to that point. And we're also not to the point of a world government hunting down and killing Christians for our faith. We're not to that point yet either. Things are going to get very bad. I'm trying to prepare people for this. Things are going to get very bad. And I get told all the time, John, you're insane. John, you're crazy. John, you need psychiatric help. You should be in an institution. I've been told these things. People have told me this. I'm just a few steps ahead of you guys, studying the scriptures, seeing the way things are going to go. You'll catch up. You will, because you'll see these things for yourself, and it will be undeniable, although there will still be people denying some of these spiritual truths because they don't want to admit that we're in a spiritual reality and that we're accountable to the God of heaven. And they will die on that hill of rebellion. And that is why ultimately the world will be hunting down Christians and killing us, because they will not want our witness. They will not want God's truth. And they think that by silencing our voices they can make God go away, but it doesn't work that way. And after the Antichrist has broken the influence of God's people on the earth, eventually there will be plagues from God, and Christ will come back and he will slay all his enemies, and that's how it's going to go down. And that's what we're building towards. And my advice to you is, if you don't know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, you had better make your peace with God. Read the Gospel of John. And even if you are a believer, you need to be wise. You need to see the danger coming afar off and take steps to avoid it. One thing that I would highly recommend is food independence. Because when law and order breaks down and the supply lines don't exist anymore, you're not going to be able to get your food from a supermarket. or a store. And so if that's where you're getting most of your food now, you're going to be in trouble in a few years. Food independence. You need to be able to produce your own food, or if you're in a place where you can't do that, stockpile enough food to last. Potentially for years would be wise if you have absolutely no plans to move and can't get to a place where you could achieve food independence. But the reality is, there's only so much you can plan for and prepare for. And if you're a believer, I would just say, try to stay in tune with the Holy Spirit and follow His promptings, because there's times coming that Jesus said if God didn't specifically cut them short for the sake of the elect, no one would survive. That's how bad things are going to get. So, not a cheery message, but I'm telling you guys the truth, as it's been shown to me, and I'm not going to give you comfortable lies about peace and safety when these things are not coming. God bless. Have a good one.